So first of all, thank you all for being here for the Dean Speaker Series conversation with Stephanie Headley. Thank you for being here and welcome home. I can tell you there's nothing like coming home.
No.
So I'm glad to.
Always good to be here.
I think about the Dean Speaker Series, and I think just a few words on that. It's really an important part of what we do here for sort of two reasons. One is that it brings us together. Right? You think about this moment and we think about community and the Kenan-Flagler community and all coming together. It gives us an opportunity to come together, but it also gives us a purpose. And that purpose is to hear from business leaders such as yourself. And sort of what I'm starting to say is lead the Kenan-Flagler way, which is this notion of we have leaders that have set an example that others can follow. And you're such a great example of that. So we are thrilled to have you here. As David said, Stephanie was here as a full-time MBA student. And she has a really interesting story that is different than many people these days. She has stayed at the same company for over 2 decades.
Yes. Was not the plan.
Yes, right. But I think that's really fascinating given workforce turnover these days, that you are actually somebody that has, I stayed at the same place for,
Yes.
20 years too. So there's, you're committed to a place, right? Mm-hmm. And then there's times for change. So when you think about you had this really interesting opportunity to see a company evolve over 20 years, right? And how leadership at that institution has evolved and grown and how it's changed. And I'm curious, because a lot of times when you change jobs over 20 years, you see different types of leadership, but you don't know if the leadership's different because the industry is different or the times are different, right? But you've had sort of one company you've been able to see over time. And what's been your experience in the evolution of leadership?
Awesome. So first of all, I have to say thank you for letting me be here today. My bricks are still out front.
Yeah.
I will find them before I get in the car. And I texted a couple of friends because I saw their bricks. And I said, if these bricks could talk, when those bricks got bought, Whitney will attest, she saw my class in 2003. What we thought we knew, man, we didn't. But hey, we had a lot of fun nevertheless. So Dean Frank, thank you for the opportunity. And thank you all for choosing to be here today. It's a full circle moment for me. I've been in this room a couple of times. So yes, I'm a little bit of a unicorn because it was not the plan, but I chose to go work for Procter Gamble when I left here. I interned with them in 2002, and I chose to stay with them over the past 20 years. I will say, though, throughout that, I've had a variety of assignments. I started in home care. So my very first assignment, I worked on Febreze fabric refresher. Any Febrezers? Yeah. And then I went to work on Febreze Air Effects. I was the first person to have that when it launched in market. I worked on retail teams. I actually lived in Charlotte 4 years. Went back to Cincinnati and I worked on things like herbal hair care. I worked on Olay body, Old Spice body wash. Now I've been on skincare for the last 8 years. So while I've been a part of the same company for 20 years, I've had a variety of assignments and doing different type of work on different brands with different problems and challenges over the course of that history. What has remained true is Procter & Gamble is a company that's focused on delivering superior products that consumers use every day and love. You have these brands at home. Old Spice users in the house? Someone? Okay, thank
My
you.
son.
Tide users, Gain users. Okay, yeah. So Bounty, Charmin Bears, anyone? Yeah. So, if it's Crest or if it's Pampers, these are brands that you are familiar of, and those are all a part of the Procter & Gamble portfolio. So we've been committed to making sure we're providing daily use we participate in daily use categories and provide superior products that consumers love and they're willing to pay for that superiority. That has remained true. What has changed, though, is sometimes how we actually get to the insights that inspire that innovation. So, for example, last week I spent the time in a design sprint, a very intensive way of iterative brand building and concept development and innovation planning with consumers. You bring design, you bring R&D and the consumers together, and you iterate through the process to come out better. What has also changed is how we go to market. Retail and commerce and digital has now collapsed. It's all one. You can look at it, add it to the cart, and get it delivered all in 2 clicks. Like that is the friction has immensely gone away. So what does that mean? As I call Mr. Walmart or I call Mr. Target or call Miss Amazon and saying, hey, we need to do business. What does it look like to profitably grow a category together? That has changed. And never mind, when I first started, I used to go get my TV boards off a fax machine from a big agency in New York City. Now, quite frankly, I was sharing with David and Paige earlier. I have actually scientists in the lab who do their own TikToks because we're making our brand more transparent about the superior science on Olay, and our scientists are telling the story. They're doing the demos themselves, and they're filming the content or recording the content on the iPhone, and then they send it to the kid downtown, and we post it that day. So the world has changed in how we do the work. Our commitment to superiority hasn't changed.
Yeah. Well, and the sort of another word for change is disruption.
That's
right. And I think, disruption may be the word of the decade, given that 2020 started with the pandemic. So it's the word we hear all the time. And, how do you think of as a leader, how do you build and then maintain your own resilience amid all this disruption that we have experienced as well as are likely to continue to experience?
Exactly. I was talking with David and Paige a little bit about this idea of resilience and what does it mean and what do we think about it. And I will tell you my own personal resilience, and then I'll talk a little bit about business resilience. We talked a little bit. Of course, we know. Like who saw 2020 coming? I mean, I guess the Simpsons predicted it, but besides them. So we've had to learn what it looks like to be much more innovative, how to respond, because we still needed to deliver for consumers, right? But supply chains were disrupted, and the way that we could get the work done totally changed because people were at home, and quite frankly, the employee well-being became top of mind for us in a new way, right? Shout out to Greensboro. If you didn't know it, about 90% of our products are made in Greensboro, North Carolina. So I'm down here, by the way, to check on them often. That's a point of pride for me as well. So being resilient when it comes to leading your business really means to me adaptive and agile leadership. Okay. Because you will always have these new forces at work, whether it's maybe Target Red Circle or maybe it's Walmart Connected Home. These are all new emerging technologies and capabilities that I have to now think about when I want to grow my business. So we need to be resilient and focused on the still end goal, which is growing the category and serving more consumers. But the way I get that work done has to change. And I'm looking for adaptive leaders who are able to spot that change when it's happening and yet it's still small, but they're able to test, learn, fail fast, and scale up the things that are working and shut down fast the things that aren't. Resilience says, hey, even if it doesn't work, what did I learn? Because that takeaway is equally as valuable, so I'm more successful next time. All of those are examples of how we're resilient in the business. For me personally, personal resilience looks like, woof, that was tough. Am I cut out for this? And so for me, that looks like, nope, everything I've done to this point has prepared me for this moment. My leadership counts. It's me. I'm going to make it happen. Who else is there but me that has this job in the world right now? I'm going to make it count. And so whether it's on the business side or personal side, resilience has to become a part of your toolkit as a leader. And having the right framework to think about that, having the right circle of mentors to support you in that is really important.
So how do you then translate your notion of resilience and then the fact that that you need to be resilient in a disruptive economy to your teams?
Yes.
So how do you build a team that's resilient?
Yes. So I do make some investments in my team to make sure, one, we're clear on the mission. That is incredibly important, and more as I have gained more experience, I now have learned even more how important it is to be clear with your team on what the mission, goal, objective actually is. Because it helps you make choices about what you will and won't do. Clarity of mission, I think, goes a long way. I think building into teams is really important. And so we've invested in things like Cloverleaf is an example, where you learn about different leadership styles. And we actually make it transparent to each other, because when I know I'm calling on Katie, for example, Katie likes it this way. And that's an actual interesting aid, because it says my style does this, but Katie may see it that way. And it helps to bridge connection and trust sooner, so we don't have anything get in the way of our ability to work well together. And then, hey, we celebrate together. You actually have to make sure that you're celebrating the wins that might happen in one discipline, even if it's not yours, because that is, again, pushing the total organization forward. Those are some of the ways I've built into my team to build resilience in our team together.
So you also said, you have your team, but you're also, when you're looking to bring people into your team.
Yes.
Right. You mentioned both that you're looking for people who can adapt.
That's right.
Right. But also, I would suspect you're also looking for people who are resilient.
Absolutely.
How is it that when you're looking at a talent pool, you think about, how is it that you figure that out?
Yeah.
Right.
So I mentioned this to Claudia and Ingrid a little bit earlier today. It's really, I really am inspired by people who are able to make something that didn't exist happen. It's because that teaches me that they're observant and learning and listening. They can identify a trend. They can identify an insight or an unmet need. You have to be observant. Then it tells me they're able to galvanize others, that they're able to attract other people to them to get rallied behind that idea or that mission. So insightful, observant, an enroller, an energizer of people. And then resilience in that, hey, we tried, that didn't work. Okay, we don't throw it all away. What did we learn? Okay, we're going back at it again. Hey, maybe we try it differently. And actually, I know we're going to talk AI, but actually expands our capability to try many things at one time and learn from them as insight to help us make the next opportunity even stronger. So those are some of the characteristics: problem solvers, insightful, observant, energizer of people. That's how I can tell.
Well, it's funny, you teed up the AI,
Yeah.
which I think about generative AI sort of sent us on a tailspin, right?
Yes.
Sort of a little over a year ago. We've had AI forever,
Yes,
but
that's right.
we seem to just pay attention when it became generative AI to some degree,
Or
right?
that NVIDIA stock was like, I wish I had picked that up a little bit.
But how do you see that AI, generative AI affecting P&G?
Yes.
Yeah.
So AI, we're embracing AI in our work. Raj and I were talking about this. Hey, hello. Raj and I were talking about this a little bit earlier today. There is a fear and fascination with AI. I think, companies are very careful about how they use AI because they want to protect their intellectual property. So we understand that. But clearly, there is a multiplying effect of providing better service, making better decisions when it comes to allocating budgets, when it comes to having top quality more consistently, weeding out the lower, call it lower tier problems, because AI can take care of it. So we can reallocate those resources to harder problems that we might need more human intervention. On Olay, we've embraced AI as well. Actually, back in 2017, we partnered with Canfield. Canfield is a company out of New Jersey, and they took all of our millions of data points of skin and created new algorithms to help you find what is getting in the way of you having your best skin. Maybe it's the dark circle under the eyes, or maybe it's this dark spot. And then they use that to help you predict what are, first, not only for identify what your skin concern is, but to also recommend a skincare product for you. So we've been using AI in multiple ways for decades. We turned that to be consumer facing. It was called Olay Skin Advisor. So you would take a selfie, and then it would diagnose your skin and make a recommendation for you. Now, though, we're having more fun with this. Can I show you a video about this?
Oh, sure.
Okay. So now we're having more fun with this. So we're taking those same algorithms and actually projecting for women what did AI think you would look like, and to compare that to what you really look like because you use Olay. Okay, we're gonna roll the footage.
All right, that makes me nervous. Okay.
It does here. Give me 1 second here. Okay, here we go. All right.
She was very young, absolutely stunning. Oh, the block teeth. And I'm so happy I don't look like that.
Yeah, love it. That's great. That is awesome.
I got one more for you. Let's see
Okay.
if this one works.
Wow. Why is this here? I look better than the AI. No, man. I see wrinkles. I look a hell of a lot better. Olay is helping me defy gravity. I'm Diane, I'm 60, and I'm eat AI with Olay.
So it's a fun way
Yeah,
to make it
thank
actually
you.
more consumer facing.
Right.
But it's built on AI's capability to use the millions of data points we've had in our skin studies to create algorithms that actually predict aging.
Yeah.
And then it gives us a platform to show how the superior science that's in every jar of Olay
Yeah.
actually help women look younger than they should.
So that's so interesting because that's on the customer side. Is there, when you're thinking of going back to the talent pool that you're looking
Yeah.
at, how has AI or generative AI affected how you think about the workforce?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're inviting new and different people to be a part of our problem solving. So we have data scientists who are digging into, okay, if this is the consumer audience I want to speak to, what is the data or the content that I need to project to them? And we're doing that at scale. When we launch new innovation, we're actually launching that innovation in small scale with 5 different audiences and testing different messaging using AI to help develop content that actually helps to see which message converts which audience to purchase faster. We're already embracing also AI as a partner. AI as a teammate when I do innovation. So at that design sprint I mentioned earlier, we have AI listen. They actually ingest all the consumer insight and generate products and concepts and claims. Again, it's helping us to do the work we do quicker, better, faster, and probably with a better level of precision than we've been before.
So for the students in the room, what should they be looking forward to as they complete their studies or embark on their studies?
Yes.
What should they be thinking about and investing in their education here as they think going into this world of that's being influenced by AI?
Yes. Well, first, be familiar. You don't have to be the expert, but your ability to see the application is really important. I encourage you also test it out. If I don't know, well, the professors will get me in trouble. Use it in but embrace and use it in your work because that actually brings a skill and a point of view that may not be in the organizations that you end up in. That point of view is important to the businesses that you're going to be expected to lead. And then, by the way, stay up on how the industry is moving. So, for example, whether for me in beauty, I'm always looking at, how would I use AI to solve that problem? How would I think about using AI to help move my organization forward? That thinking, we welcome that at P&G. And so that's what we're looking for in leaders to actually bring that perspective in.
It's interesting for me. One of the things that AI and generative AI has really sort of brought home to me is when we think about its effect on the workforce and the type of workforce that will be needed, and you start to think about the impact of business on society.
Yes.
Right? AI is going to have a dramatic impact on society simply through sort of its effect on the workforce. And so how does P&G think about this sort of notion of how do you engage with AI and its effect on the workforce, the environment, to lead a company that is trying to have a positive impact in society?
Yeah. I think, well, there's 2 things. I think companies will have to embrace it. Like, I don't see us not doing that. Okay. Yeah. So now it's about how do we embrace AI? So, and what tasks do we give AI and how how do I, using your term, humans and humanoids work together actually to
Yeah.
get the work done. So as we think about, I've seen examples from our business in China where we're using AI to actually answer consumer questions. Consumers are asking questions about what SPF should I use? Which eye cream should I use? These questions AI can totally handle because it says, send me your photo and I'll send you back 2, 3 product recommendations. And by the way, I can also forecast what transformation you should expect on your skin. Now you can have that kind of interaction with a consumer based on AI capabilities, for example. I think what that means for the workforce, though, is that we're going to need people who can learn how to solve problems with AI as a teammate. And I think you're going to have to be able to envision then what doesn't yet exist. Again, going back to what are the small tests you can start today, learn and scale up or shut down fast. Those are going to be the qualities of the leaders that we need. And that means our organization needs to be more agile. That means we got to make room for failure. That means we got to have budgets that allow this work to happen. All of this is now, I think, changing the way we think about leading our businesses.
Well, and there's this commitment to responsible beauty,
Yeah.
of which, how would you sort of articulate that and how you've implemented that through P&G and Olay?
Yeah, responsible beauty is a term we talk about at P&G Beauty. That's our full commitment to safety, quality, transparency, sustainability, equality. All of those initiatives fall under our role to be a responsible force in the beauty industry. And I take that to heart. When we spend millions of dollars curating the images that you see in the marketplace, that leaves an impression on how people see themselves. Who actually is the arbiter of what is beautiful and what not? Who gets to be included? Who do we hire to be in front of and behind the camera? How do I make sure that the ingredients in my products are safe, are clinically proven? And how do we weed out what's not needed so that the most effective products that actually work are in the product is not about the lowest cost, it's actually about what's most effective. These are some of the questions we wrestle with when we make sure that we're being responsible in beauty. By the way, it is core to who P&G is. P&G has always taken the high road, even at our own company's detriment, when it comes to questions of should we ship it or not. The answer is no. If there's a question, we will only ship what we know is perfect quality because as a consumer, when you pay $30, you expect best quality from the first time you open the package to the last drop. And I'm really proud of the company that I work for, a company that stands behind that.
Yeah. Well, and on the social end, we think about diverse perspectives, right? Bringing in diverse perspectives into our communities, right? Because that's how we really learn and grow, is being engaged and surrounded by people who don't have the same backgrounds or experiences. And you've sort of led the way there, right? As the first woman of color leading, heading a brand. And I'm just curious, can you describe how that is important to you and the impact that you feel like you've had at P&G in that role?
It was, I guess serendipitous. I didn't plan it. Okay, we all got that point. So
Yeah.
it's funny how life happens. I'll just share a little bit of how I now look back and see the building blocks because I want you to see these in your own story. I remember being a little girl playing in my grandmother's medicine cabinet with her Olay. I can actually smell it, and it was glass, and I can smell it. I remember that. Who knew? Then I went and I studied math and secondary ed. My plan was to become a math teacher. That now has turned into Olay's ambition to double the number of women and triple the number of women of color who study STEM field. Little did I know that experience, when I didn't actually plan it that way, but I was one of few that was studying a STEM career at that time. Then I worked at Philip Morris in the plant in I-95. If you did that plant still on the side of the road?
It still is. I drove past it the other day. Yep.
I worked there in that plant. I learned a lot about leading an organization. It was a union workforce. Little did I know that actually enables me when I talk with my supply chain leaders and I go visit Greensboro. I know what it means to do a changeover. I know what it is to shut down a plant. I know what it is to hire a new technical team. I know what it is to now ramp up a new piece of equipment. I can speak to that. All of that's been curated through the experiences that I've had to bring me to this point. And I'd be remiss to say it was Kenan-Flagler that was a game changer for me to enable me to have opportunities that weren't available to me before. Now, again, I didn't know at the time. These were me saying my next yes to the next opportunity one at a time. But that now has all come together to give me a variety of experiences that I pull on every day as I lead the total business. Of course, I work with advertising, but I'm also working supply chain. I'm working with R&D. I'm making capital investments for the future. I'm working with retailers. So all of the experiences I've had up through and even being here have enabled me to do this work. So now I feel the accountability, and the part of the reason I love being here is I want to encourage each and every one of you. Your experiences create a cumulative impact for your leadership. Don't discount what you've already done. That is actually enabling you to make quicker, better, smarter decisions and continue to accumulate those experiences, because that all works together for your greater good to achieve your career and professional goals.
You know, it's interesting because you talked about sort of you had these different experiences. Did you have a set of questions you asked yourself as you had opportunities, even because you've been at the same company for 20 years, but I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted by all the experiences you've had within that one company, right? I mean, you might as well have worked at 20 different companies because you've had that many different experiences. And so how is your thinking through, is this a time to change? Is this a time to move or jump? Right? What are you looking for when when you have an opportunity to make those decisions?
I think I still actually ask myself, am I having fun? Am I learning? Am I making a difference? Those are questions I check, because it's easy to get into the inertia. It's Monday, okay? Well, it's Monday, right? But if you're having fun, if you're learning, and if you're making a difference, then for me, that's what has encouraged me to stay with P&G, but to have different experiences within P&G, because I continue to grow. I've been in this job now 2 years, and even though I was already on the skincare team, the responsibility I have in the seat is very different. I really do think about, am I creating the right strategies that will sustain winning for this business for the 3 years out? Am I growing the next generation of leaders who will go backfill me in the seat? Am I doing the transformation when it comes to brand building? Am I creating the right investments so Greensboro keeps running? And when you really think about it, the decisions I make today will have knock-on effects for years to come. So I'm growing, although similar business, but different role. So I'm growing. I'm having fun. Who got their super serum? Okay, that is the number one new item last year in the whole category. Yes, ma'am. And having fun working on products like super serum that beat Estee Lauder, by the way. Working with beauty editors, not only like Vogue and Allure, but also influencers like Jackie Arnold. So I'm having fun. I'm learning. I'm doing different things. And then am I making a difference? The leaders who I get to work with, and the people who are interns and hopefully new hires like me and Papa, who's here in the room. I want them to have every opportunity to go get all their goals achieved. And if I can help make it just a little bit easier, I feel like I'm doing my part.
So is there an underlying set of values that you have that help you prioritize from a business perspective what it is you choose to tackle?
Yeah, it's important to me. You hear a little bit of my logic of why I stay, but importantly, in my role, I have to make sure I'm uniquely doing what I can only do to make a difference for the business. Because I've been around skincare now 8 years, I've done a lot of the roles, I know a lot of people. It's easy for me to call it gnarly and get into the details of other things. But what I have now come to realize, that robs the person who's actually accountable for that, the experience of doing that, and it actually makes I'm ignoring the work that I uniquely own. So for me, I try to always telescope back to make sure, am I doing the work that I can uniquely do to unleash my team, unlock new opportunities, and place some really smart bets for where I think the business needs to go.
Okay. So when you think about Olay and moving forward, so what are initiatives that you've been that you're really proud of moving forward? If you think of, because you're in a unique. Oh, you have another one? Oh gosh. Okay.
So then I made these slides. Okay, so I got to show up. Okay, so
Okay.
there's a couple initiatives that I'm really proud of. So on Olay, you heard me mention we have a brand ambition to double the number of women, triple the number of women of color who pursue STEM fields. Okay, that's because Olay is a brand backed by science. Many of the physio machines that you might see in your dermatologist's office, Olay did that. Many of the patents that on niacinamide, Olay's behind that. And so we actually have nearly 50% of the scientists who work on Olay are actually women. So we embody this equality in STEM fields actually in our business, but that's not actually normal in STEM careers, right? We don't know this. And so we're lending our voice to drive more equitable representation in STEM. Some of the ways that's come to life is we were the first skincare brand in the Super Bowl. If you remember, Make Space for Women. We had Lily Singh, we had Busy Phillips. I think Taraji P. Henson was in it. So we did this whole story around Olay Make Space for Women. Anyone who tweeted, we sent about, I think it was $500,000 in scholarships for girls studying STEM careers. We've sent tens of thousands of girls to Code Camp. All of this is a part of our work to continue to expose more young women and girls to STEM careers. A lot of times, too, we find that people don't think of the intersectionality of STEM and beauty. And so in particular, we've been working on making sure that big moments like Macy's Day Parade, I don't know if anyone saw this, but we were one of the first skincare brands in the Macy's Day Parade, and the bold choice to put a person of color on a float at Macy's Day Parade was to drive the conversation. And we got tons of letters saying, wow, like I've never seen anything like that. And that means a lot. This again goes back to when you're leading a brand, the choices you make about who and what you amplify has knock-on effects, right? And then we made a choice we call the Olay Skin Promise. So we're committed to zero retouching. So those women really look like those women. There's not enough lighting to hide bad skin. Okay. So we are really committed to zero retouching in all of our images. We don't use any funny filters, none of that. These are real skin transformations, real skin results with our products. And the last thing I point out is we just launched last month a partnership with Coursera. So you can actually take classes, so you can start your education towards becoming a cosmetic chemist. So Olay and Coursera partner with that. And we actually made a $2 million donation to HBCUs that program as well.
Oh, wow. That is wonderful.
Yeah, it's fun.
So, if this is, some of these ways are like staying connected with customers, right? And you talked about sort of AI and AI being connected with customers. But is there a particular strategy that you have to sort of to put customers first?
Oh, yes, absolutely. The consumer, guide the consumer. When all else fails, follow the consumer. Okay, this will tell you and teach you a lot. We use a variety of tools and techniques to stay in touch with consumers. I mean, the easiest one is read ratings and reviews, y'all. Like I literally spend time combing through ratings and reviews because it helps me get a real sense for, hey, what I know about the science, is that coming across, or consumers having that real experience. We also do a program we call Connected Home. That actually has some cameras, not in all the spaces, but some cameras and some scales. So for example, I know that consumers may not actually be using FMs or facial moisturizers every day, or maybe they're not using enough. How many, you're supposed to use the 3-finger rule on your SPF? Or who has heard of that 3-finger rule on SPF? A few. So the amount of SPF you should use every day is 3 fingers worth.
Oh.
I expect SPF rates to go up in chapel. Okay, but through scales, little weigh scales, so when a person uses a product and they put it back on the scale, it helps me know how much they're actually using. Okay, and then through the camera, I know whether or not she's using every day, twice a day or not. Okay, so the cameras and scales, this helps me understand what consumers say versus what they do. Okay. So those are just a couple examples of how we stay in touch with consumers. But I mean, I spend a lot of time on ratings and reviews.
Well, it sounds like AI could help you there too.
Yes, that's true.
Okay.
That's true. That's right. That's right.
Well, I'm curious, and you've worked actually with the STAR program.
That's right.
And thank you so much for your support of the STAR program. I'm not sure she's here. Okay. But, one of the things I'm curious is what is it that gets you excited about working with the STAR program?
Yes.
And what is it that we as Kenan-Flagler are able to help you do
Yes.
through that?
No, I'm really grateful for the opportunity. Again, where I have an opportunity and I have a choice, if there's a Tar Heel around, I want them on my team. We actually there's two Tar Heels on my team. Will Collier, who just graduated in the last 2 years, probably, is on my team. Angel, we just hired last year, a sales leader, was a Tar Heel. He's been with the company about 5 years. So there's a lot of Tar Heels on Olay, by the way. If you haven't bought already, you should be buying.
Yeah.
Anyway, but STAR is a great way for our brand to, one, get fresh thinking, fresh perspective from leaders like all of you on our business and different business problems and challenges that we're trying to solve. I go back to your voice, your leadership matters. And so you having the opportunity to test out your leadership and to learn from a real world business challenge is a great opportunity for you, something you can claim on your resume. Again, an experience, a way for you to see inside of companies and the type of work that you might want to choose to do. But it's also real business challenges that you get to help solve. Our STAR leaders working with Justin. Justin leads the Olay.com business. Speaking of resiliency, we had a sleepyolay.com business was doing $1 to $2 million a year. The pandemic hits, it's doing $30 million overnight. And now we have to supply it. That leader just happened to be the right leader at the right time. And so he got a wonderful experience. But my point is, you get to see the inside and think of it as a two-way exchange. You get the experience of seeing the inside of a company. You get the opportunity to bring your ideas and put them to practice. But the business also benefits from your fresh thinking.
I think one of the things that's great is that when people come to school, sometimes they think they have aspirations of, oh, I want to do finance, I want to do consulting,
Yes.
right? Though the tech sort of takes over. The thing that I've heard you say is there's actually a lot of tech in beauty,
Absolutely.
right? And if you think about sort of what is it that you have found so special about working in product management? For those people who may not have considered sort of product management as a role.
Yes. Hey, brand management, product management, marketing are all shorthands. I think it underserves actually the work I do. I own a P&L. Okay, I'm evaluated on the P and to grow categories. I deliver top line sales. I deliver bottom line profit. I deliver stewardship. I deliver share, and I look at cash. You are running a business. You're interfacing with sales and insights and R&D and product supply. Yes, advertising is a part, and it's fun and it's different and it's actually changing, quite frankly, right beneath our feet. But that's only one aspect. One thing I would share with you, P&G's point of view is that there is a circle of superiority. It takes the superiority of product with the superiority of package, superiority of retail execution, superiority of communication, and superior value to the consumer and customer. When we have all of that working well together, like we did on Super Serum, you grow the business, you grow the categories, consumers reward you with their dollars. When we don't have all of that working well, the business doesn't respond. Trust me, I've been there, done that. But as a leader in brand management, you're actually affecting all of those things because you have to have the superior formulas that actually deliver the claims that you actually get to advertise, and you got to make the freaking thing. Okay. And by the way, you got to talk to Walmart, Target, Amazon, CVS, and Walgreens to make sure it actually gets on the shelf the way it needs to be presented because consumers make their decision within the first 10 seconds that they're in the aisle. And if you miss it because your package isn't clear, your benefits aren't clear, or your value's not clear, consumers will move on. So, as the leader of brand management, it really does call on for you to think about all aspects of the business. You're leading a business through multiple levels of the P&L, but you're also leading an organization. And when the chips go down, the next snap over to the person in product management or brand management, where are we going? What are we doing? And so historically, many of the leaders in the company have come through brand management. They come through other functions too, but it is, I think, a great career opportunity. And for me, I was a career switcher. So as you heard, I was in education. I did manufacturing. And my choice to come to Kenan-Flagler was because it was going to help me really up level my business acumen. And again, it wasn't the plan, but I'm really grateful for the path I've taken.
You know, it's interesting because if your dream, if your goal is to lead, right, it sounds like brand management is an incredible way to get a lot of different experiences that set you up to be an amazing leader.
Absolutely.
That's-
Leadership is universal. It takes many different forms, but problem solvers, innovators, creators are welcome.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you. So I'd like to open it up. We have a few minutes, if that's
Okay.
okay. Could we, are there any questions that,
Good.
okay, we have one over here. Yeah, and then we'll go over here.
Going back to the theme of resilience, of course, many things have changed in the last couple of decades. But how do you deal in your brand management with social pressures of, for instance, customers demanding more green products or like less animal testing? Are there any initiatives that the company has done to try to be resilient towards consumers' demands in that way?
Yes, absolutely. So, in fact, we've reduced the amount of ingredients in our products. Actually, you should flip some of your packages over. A lot of products talk about, green free of, but then you turn over and there's 64 products on the back. You're like, what? So we know that's the consumer expectation. That's part of our responsible beauty commitment. We continue to reduce the number of ingredients we have without trading off the effectiveness. So this is the tension, right? Consumers want hydration, but not at they don't want clean at the expense of effectiveness. Now, of course, it's a free marketplace and there's consumers who fit in different consumer segments. Some consumers prefer to have something natural, maybe like an aloe, right? Preservative free, you have to keep in a refrigerator. Okay. But we want to make sure that we serve consumer needs, but never at the trade-off of the efficacy that they expect. So that's how we balance that. And that's why you have a portfolio of products, by the way, too, right? Different products have different offerings to serve different consumer segments. When it comes to animal testing, that's always been something I see that in the comments sometimes. We don't do animal testing in the US there, but we do comply with government regulations across the world on how they qualify their products.
We had a question for you here.
Yes.
Yes. In the beginning, you emphasized the importance of having the clarity mission.
Yes.
To maybe share some insights on how to get the clarity out, and so in general, but specifically also for that we want to mention about things that are not there yet, that we're creating something new.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's especially maybe.
So, for example, the mission might be, hey, we really need to grow in the serum segment, for example. Super serum. Okay, great. And then we really did the work to understand, okay, what were the barriers? Why weren't consumers using our serums, or did we have the right proposition? Now, what I would say is the mission is, deliver growth in the serum segment, but then you break that down into milestones, right? How do I get to the right product? What's the clinical studies say? How do I think about the right packaging and the formula and the fragrance? And you kind of celebrate the milestones along the way to the mission, so that one, it helps build momentum, it helps enroll people, they see themselves in the mission, and you don't get lost in how big that idea is without making progress. So that's a little bit of how you declare a mission, but break it down and celebrate along the way.
And the milestones we develop from top down.
The milestones usually start at the top, but it's really the leaders who actually can make it happen. And that goes back to one of the other things I mentioned earlier. I think I was talking with someone today about, hey, it's important to have the right leaders on the team. Really good. And this is where all of you come in. Many of you will be in roles, for example, like on Olay, where I'm counting on you to lead. Don't let my idea be the idea. I'm the furthest tend to be away from the actual consumer. So I'm counting on leaders like you who are actually interfacing with the consumer, actually checking to see what's growing and trending, to input, devise, and lead, and come with a clear point of view. I expect the new hire on my team to have a point of view. It's not that it's always going to be perfect. Don't fear being perfect. Like, don't let being perfect become a stumbling block. It's important that you have a point of view that's informed by data. Data can come from the market, from consumers, can come from anywhere. But a well-formed point of view, we're expecting you to lead from day one.
Can how do you convince people that that's what you want them to do? Because you can say it,
Mhm.
and people can hear it, and they don't believe it. Something in them doesn't. I don't know if it's past history or you. So how do you get your team to believe that that's the way you want them to behave?
Yeah. One technique I have used is I saddle them with the project and I walk away. Because as long as I'm kind of around, people just wait and listen very carefully to what I say, and then I'm like, well, I think that's it. You don't want me to sign. This is what I've learned. So what I've tried to do is really empower people to have the ownership, to say, okay, this is your project. I'm leaving. Call me. Call me if something smells. If something's burning, call me. Please let me know. But giving people the room to lead, giving people the room to fail, celebrating the failure in that we say, okay, so tell me what happened. Okay, what did we learn? Okay, what did we think was supposed to happen? Okay, got it. All right. I'll see you in another 60 days. So do not. If I can tell you anything, is remember your voice counts, and make sure you have the room to lead and own that leadership. And then when you get the shot, take the shot. Take the shot. You know more than you probably give yourself credit for, and there's plenty of people ready to help.
Thank you. Okay. Others? There's a question. Yes.
Um, in the industry that you're in, my sense would be you navigating a lot of downward pressure related to profit, trying to get products cheaper, in the marketplace today. How have you navigated that tension in trying to maintain a brand that customers love and are willing to pay for,
Mhm.
while recognizing everything's more expensive now, and that
Yes.
is the tension?
Yes. The good news is in beauty, we're less elastic. So, and people can never tell you what they really paid for it the last time they bought it. But what I would tell you is delivering superior efficacy, delivering superior results is what I stay focused on. So, anyone open their little mini yet? Anyone? Someone help me out.
I come back.
Can someone crack it open? So we made some investment choices to make sure you had that beautiful rose gold ring. We made the little baby Minnie because she was super cute. Um, the large size is glass. Back to the question about sustainability, I think came from over here. So we invested in the formula so that it has a beautiful mica. So we make investments in the formula, in the packaging, in the experience above the technology that's actually in it. Okay. We make those investments because number one, when a consumer loves the way a product looks and feels, they're much more compliant. If a consumer is more compliant to using the product day and night, then the consumer gets the better skin response. Now the consumer is getting the outcome that they paid for. So this is also the science and the psychology behind the investments of curating really a superior product that drives consumption and habit adoption. And what we found on super serum, consumers were consuming 44% faster than other serums because of these small nuances, fragrance, color, feel, all of that gets to compliance, which gets to better skin outcomes.
Interesting. Other questions?
My point is investment paid off.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, as you rightly said, this is a greenfield package.
Yep.
And would love to know what a company like B&B, such a big company, doing in order to make this packaging.
Yep. Yes. So the large size is actually glass. Pumps are harder to make recyclable. So that's actually one of the challenges I'm working on right now. We're looking at glass. We're looking at, call it recycled resins. In some cases, I'm looking at paper. We're looking at refills. All of these are a part of my investments that I make from a capital standpoint to enable our operations to be more recyclable. Now, what we have found though across the company is that the recycle bin tends to be in the kitchen, not yet in the bathroom. How many of you recycle what's in your bathroom? You got a little weak in here. Okay, so anyway, but nevertheless, we look to lead. We always look to lead. Okay, so I am looking at ways, how do I step up the superiority of the product, including the packaging? And how do I make it beautiful? So one idea I'm flirting with is, how do I make the packaging so beautiful that you want to keep the primary but buy the refill? But that's an investment in design, right? And so we can use AI, we can use consumer design sprints to get to that level of superiority that you want to keep the primary and then buy a refill. But again, in skincare in particular, what I found is consumers love that, but never at the expense of the efficacy. So I have to make sure I never compromise on the skin transformation while I'm investing in those things. Those things have to move together. Yeah.
Kevin,
Yes. Hi.
I guess I have a question about the shopping experience. A lot of times, I don't really know what I need to put on my skin, so I go to
Mhm.
Sephora and ask them, and they will tell me. But with Olay, since it is relying on people to look at the shelf and do their own research coming into it, how do you try to bridge that gap where you have that direct connection with the customer? Whereas there are these ads and these advertisements, but at the end of the day, if someone really does rely on an expert opinion,
Right.
that comes straight from the store, how do you try to put Olay in that position and supplement that?
Yes. So some retailers like Target, for example, they or Walgreens also, they have beauty counselors. So we tend to invest in their beauty counselor programs because that enables a real person to talk to you in the aisle and help make a choice. We're making other investments. We call it scientists as influencer. Let me see if I can be super fast. We have an example of scientists as influencer here where we're actually making our scientist the influencer.
One serum less effective than a single ingredient serum? No. We crafted serum at just the right pH and concentration level. So you get the clinically proven benefits of multiple ingredients, one super zero. How? With 2 patents, 5 years of research, and a team of 100 scientists working on super serum, we combine 5 ingredients into one potent serum without compromising results. In fact, it's clinically proven versus the basic serum to deliver 2 times faster results.
That's Allie. Allie really works on Olay. That's really our labs. So that's an example of how we're trying to turn our scientists into influencers, that they can actually make content in the lab to answer the most common consumer questions. And then the last thing is, I talked about media and retail kind of merging. Quite frankly, e-content is probably an undervalued way for us to communicate. So many times I stalk consumers in the aisle a lot. Um, I just laugh. I keep laughing around the aisle. I just keep laughing around. I don't really say anything. But you do see them peer, you see them look, you see them turn cartons over, and you see them struggle with, is this worth it, or should I buy this or not? How do I know? And so that helps me first remind myself 10 seconds to make the choice. Am I communicating the benefits clearly on the front of pack? Is my signage at the shelf right? How do I work with the retailer to make sure that's right? But for many consumers who aren't even in the aisle, but they might be adding to cart, how do I make sure e-content is actually very strong? What are those first 3, 4 tiles say, so that I can make sure consumers feel confident about what they're adding to cart?
Okay. Okay. Yeah, we had Tool and then we'll go up there. Yeah, I'm watching.
I'm a professor in strategy here, and thank you very much for coming. I think a question which I think I struggle with my students. Many years ago, I used to work for a competitor called Unilever. That's a different story. But I've been a professor for many years. How do you? I mean, and you are really inspirational in so many ways, and I think Mary Margaret hit on that. There's a job and there's a career. And when I look at you, you built a career. What advice would you give? Because I struggle today talking to our students and saying, how do you build a career? Because the 20-year P&G career is a rare one today. What advice would you give people to string jobs together to form a career?
Well, before I got to P&G, though, I told you I had 2 other things. I'm kind of like a cat with 9 lives. I don't know which life I'm on right now. I'm thinking 4. Okay, I'm hoping for 4. Maybe 5. But each one of those were discrete decisions. So teaching was fun. I loved seeing the lights go on behind the eyes of the students, but that gave me the ability to tell stories. That's what that taught me. That taught me how to communicate. The plant was great. I learned to lead. I learned supply chain. I learned the value of time. Okay, so every decision you're making, you're learning something there. Even if you're like, I thought I was gonna like this, but I didn't, you learn something either about that skill or about that industry. Don't underestimate that, because now you're able to put together a story about, hey, I've made these different choices, and each one of these choices and experiences have enabled me to learn something, do something, get closer to something that you really enjoy. So please take off, I know, just a little bit, just take off, trust me, just take off a little bit of the pressure,
That's right.
because you're going to make the right best decision for now. And then you're going to step back, and then you're going to make the right next best decision again. And you're going to keep making the right next decision. My next best decision happened to be inside of P&G, but was with different brands or different opportunities. People told me when I came to Charlotte, I made a mistake. And I was like, well, I'll dig my own grave. Fine. Right? But each one of those were the right next best decision. I did not start out saying I was going to be an SVP at P&G. I said, I need a check, and I need good benefits, and I need to, and quite frankly, P&G was my residency to my MBA. So many medical students go do residency. You get that? Yeah. So P&G was my residency to my MBA. So I was like, oh, I'm going to go do this 2 years. I'm going to put to practice what I learned, and we'll see how it works. What I didn't count on is, hey, I could go do this, and I could do this. I was growing, I was making an impact, and I was having fun. So my point is, don't solve for the career. Try to have both long and short-term view, make the right best decision, and then keep making the right next best decision, and you will actually string together a career.
Okay. So I'm going to pull us to an end. So I want to thank you.
Thank you.
So much for being here. I don't know about y'all, but I've learned a ton. So I just really appreciate it. Three. Great. Okay, 3 fingers. 3 fingers. I learned that. But I also want to welcome you or invite you to April 23rd, which is our next Dean Speaker series. And it's going to have Deval Patrick, who is the co-director of the Center for Public Leadership at the Harvard Kennedy School. And he is the former governor of Massachusetts. So as David said earlier, we bring the best business leaders as well as leaders across different sectors. So hope to see you there on April 23rd. But thank you for being here with us today.